First thing that I do want to talk to you about, just briefly if I may, is this story that more than 100 Brits were included in this data leak from Afghanistan. What's your comments on this?
Well, obviously it's very concerning, and as this was subject to an additional injunction, it's not something I was aware of either. But I think the first thing I would just say is to reassure you and your viewers that the names themselves have now not been made public. But I think this is just further evidence of how serious this incident was, and why we've had to take the steps over many months that we've had to take since the Secretary of State has asked for a review with a view to lifting the injunction, to make sure that it was perfectly safe for him to get to that point, and that's why it's taken some time for that review to happen, so that we could be sure that there would be no security risks from lifting the injunction. But as he has said, and as the Prime Minister has said, as a government we are deeply uncomfortable and concerned by the fact that the public and Parliament have been kept in the dark about this issue, and that's why we've took the steps that we've taken to get the injunction lifted. And clearly there are many questions here about how this data leak happened, what were the consequences of it, what actions were taken as a result, and what procedures and policies have been put in place to make sure that that would never happen again.
Yeah, so many questions, as you say, and I'm sure it's a story that there's going to be more fallout from in the coming days and weeks as well. You've announced today that 16 and 17-year-olds aren't going to be able to vote in UK elections. Only 8 other countries in the world do this. So just explain why you think it is a good idea.
Well, this was a manifesto commitment that we had, and it's been a Labour policy for a while, and the reason that it is a Labour policy is because young people around the country for many years have been campaigning for it, because they want the right to vote, because they want their views and their concerns and their futures to be considered by politicians and governments of the future, and that's why they've been calling for it. And I think if you're
just on that, if I may, because you mentioned
in the army,
you mentioned there about how they feel that they've been campaigning for it because they feel that some of their concerns haven't been recognised by politicians. And it does feel, you know, obviously older people are more likely to vote, so we have seen a focus on things like the pensions triple lock, for example, pension and poverty falling while child poverty rising. Do you think that, I guess, politicians have not been taking young people seriously because they don't have the vote?
Well, I think that that's inevitably the case. You know, you're targeting, as political parties, as politicians, you're targeting people who do vote with the policies that you are pushing forward. And I think this in part, giving 16 and 17-year-olds the vote and extending the franchise to more young people, you know, I really hope will ensure that young people's concerns and futures are taken into account by those campaigning for their votes, and they will have to be. And I think if you can join the army... Sorry, carry on.
Sorry, I was going to say that, you know, it's going to help Labour as well, right? Most popular party among 16 and 17-year-olds.
Sorry, just say that bit again, I didn't quite hear that.
It's going to help Labour as well, isn't it, though, the most popular party among 16 and 17-year-olds?
Well, that's not a consideration for us. This is not about, you know, making some kind of advantage for the Labour Party. This is the right thing to do. And it's also about making sure that people vote for longer through their lives, and we get more people voting, because we think it's really important that people are engaged in the political process and actually do take the time to vote. And there's a lot of evidence that if you can capture young people when they're still at school and college, and all the education and discussion that goes around that at election times, get them into the habit early of voting, there's a lot of evidence that shows that they will continue to vote at higher levels throughout the subsequent years. And so this is also part of what we are also announcing today in the election strategy, about engaging more people in the democratic process and getting more people able to vote and casting their votes and feeling it's important.
I said about Labour being the most popular party among 16 and 17-year-olds, and I was quite interested to see the second most popular party is Reform. And, that's before you unleash, targeted political ads on young people after this change. We've all seen how, influential Nigel Farage has become on TikTok. Could this actually end up backfiring on you politically, do you think?
Well, look, it's for all of us. I mean, I wouldn't go off the sort of polling at any one snapshot in time. Polls go up and down, as we have seen over recent months. But this is going to make the political parties, all political parties and politicians, think about what are the hopes and aspirations and the kind of policies that young people want to see. And it's going to make all of us, I'm sure, reflect that better. But I mean, it's not a huge number of people in that sense. It would be about 1.5 at most, 1.2 million young people who will be eligible to vote, and probably would be a lower number who would actually vote in an election. But we think it's really important in of itself as a principle. It's important to get people engaged in politics early and getting into the habit of voting early. And we think it's really important for our political debate and our democracy that young people's opinions are campaigned for.
Now, you're here, officially to talk about the laws that you introduced in the last year. I mean, that's quite a ballsy move, isn't it, after you failed to get your flagship welfare policy through?
Well, look, we took time. All our bills that we have passed, and we've passed many already. I think we've passed 21 bills so far in this parliamentary session, and many more that are just at the cusp of being passed in the coming weeks. I'm a great believer in our parliamentary democracy. I am the leader of the House of Commons. We don't do things in this country by executive order and then just a command paper and expect them to be laws. Everything has to meet the test of Parliament, and that is a tough test, and that's absolutely as it should be. And anything that we're putting forward from a legislation point of view will go through that tough test of Parliament and scrutiny. And that's why we take on board what parliamentarians say, and we adapt our bills accordingly. And I can't think of a single bill that we've passed in this last year that hasn't been made better by going through a tough parliamentary process.
You talked there about the importance of the tough parliamentary process, and Keir Starmer decided to suspend the whip from 4 Labour MPs for their role, amongst other things, in that welfare bill. How does that work out?
Well, just to be really clear, these are matters for the Chief Whip to consider, and it's his decision about taking.
What do you think, though?
From people. But just to be really clear, that the 4 Labour MPs who have had the whip removed, which is a very, very serious thing to happen, and we want a united Labour team in Parliament. No one wants to take the whip off anyone. This was about a pattern of behaviour and persistent campaigning and activity against the Labour government, and we have to look at those things in the round, and that's why this decision has been taken by the Chief Whip, who's now going to look at it in more detail, and he's also going to be talking to those MPs, and as we did with some MPs this time last year over a vote, the whip, there is a route back for people, and people can get the whip returned if they in the future support the Labour government.
Now that there is also talk of a significant cabinet reshuffle in the autumn, and look, this is always a bit awkward, but your name has come up in some of the reports. It does feel like someone somewhere is maybe briefing against you. How does that make you feel?
Well, I didn't really know that people were briefing against me, so that's news to me. But look, no, that's fine. Good luck to them for that. But look, I'm doing a job that I'm really pleased to be doing as leader of the House of Commons for the Prime Minister. I'm working hard to make sure that our legislation gets through the House of Commons. I'm also working hard on trying to modernise and raise standards in the House of Commons, and I've got many aspects to the job that I do. Of course, whether I stay in this job or I'm moved is a matter for the Prime Minister, but I'm really not here to comment or discuss sort of reshuffle speculation.
Yeah, fair enough. It's a cheeky question, I get that. The 3 names, I have to say, reported as all being at risk are all women. Yourself, Bridget Phillipson, Lisa Nandy. It doesn't exactly help, accusations that there's a bit of a macho culture in Number 10, does it?
Look, all I would say is that, I've had times in recent weeks where I've needed the support of people in Number 10 when things have happened in a way that I wouldn't have wanted them to happen. And I've had nothing but total support from those in Number 10. And there are many, I can reassure you, many strong women working at the heart of our government. And we are all working together to the same ends, women and men, and women and men in government, and that's what we're focused on.
Yeah, those are the two, tends to be. Lucy, thank you very much. Lucy Powell there, always good to have you on the programme. Thank you.